Hi, and welcome to Pillows and Princesses. Unfortunately, my loyal hound Momo has stolen our intro, so if you see a sudden jump in audio and video quality, I apologize. But Pillows and Princesses is a side quest of Role Models, which is a TTRPG podcast that is hyper feminine and woman led. And I'm Janie, the DM of Role Models, and the host of Pillows and Princesses, where I bring on my favorite charming, nerdy friends to talk about all of our favorite geeky interests. And on that note, I have a beautiful friend coming to have a slumber party with me today named Christie Karr, who is a professional costumer and well-accomplished cosplay professional. So without further ado, Christie, hi!
Hi, Janie.
I'm so glad you could make it and you brought Momo back.
I did bring Momo back.
That's really nice of you. Well, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad you're here. And now I, of course, know everything about you from our last slumber party. But
that's true.
For the people at home, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Christie. I'm Janie's friend.
Oh, they know that already.
They do know that.
She's a professional costumer.
Yes, I have done some costuming in my day.
Some costuming. She's done, you're like an award-winning cosplayer.
I've won some awards. I've worked with the circus a little bit.
You've worked with the circus,
the Soleil circus,
the Circus of the Sun. And now you judge competitions from time to time.
Well, I haven't judged in a while, but I have in the past.
Yeah. But when I was thinking about cosplay and about all the costumes I want to make and how fun it is that there's this big cosplay community online, I thought there's no one better to talk to than Miss Christie.
You make me blush.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. Why don't you start by giving us kind of a brief look at your history of cosplay?
Okay, well, I started cosplaying officially all the way back in 2013. I know, it's been a while.
If you guess Christie's age in the comments,
don't do it. Don't do it. Don't encourage that.
Don't encourage it. Cut that out.
I mean, I've always dressed up. I was definitely a weird little kid who loved to dress up. I was the little girl who asked her mom if she could be a vampire for Halloween and had long black stiletto nails with blood dripping down my face at 6 years old. So
I love that.
Yeah.
But what was your first big cosplay in general or contest or anything?
I mean, my first contest was for FantasyCon, RIP. It only lived for one session, 1 year.
One brief year, but oh my Lanta, people who went to FantasyCon, they remember FantasyCon.
Yeah, it was intense. They went all out, which might be why they didn't have money for the next one. I don't know what happened. I wasn't involved.
Rest in peace, FantasyCon.
But they had one of the most amazing stage setups I've ever seen. They had like a regular stage, and then they had a catwalk out to the judges who were out in the audience, right? And they had kind of this old church ruins thing, set design on the backstage, which was really cool. And yeah, it was fun. Won Best in Show. They had a couple of competitions. So I won Best in Show for the craftsmanship.
In your first cosplay contest?
I know, it's ridiculous.
I know, but I'm honestly not surprised. And then what are some other like big defining moments in your like cosplay career that you say would have brought you to where you are now as a professional?
I would say, I mean, I've competed a few times. I competed as Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, except for I had a big ball gown version of her, and that was very fun. That was a big point. And after that contest, I was asked to judge the next contest because they really enjoyed it, and that was fun. And then I competed a few more times. It led to doing a bunch of costume classes at university, even though I wasn't technically a costume major. The teacher was very sweet and let me take every class in the program. So I got to do a lot of upper division, special interest courses on drafting, and that was very fun. And then worked at a fantasy park with you where we met.
Unnamed fantasy park.
Unnamed park.
Of Jenny Nicholson fame. But you have such an impressive resume. And
Thank you.
starting out as a cosplayer and then ending up in professional costuming is so rare and such a novelty.
It is crazy. I think part of it is maybe some people just want to keep it play, which is very fair. I think it's an escape for a lot of people. But I found in doing the classes and gaining that experience that I enjoyed it in all its forms, costuming in general, not just in cosplay, but I still enjoy cosplay because it's still fun.
It's so fun. And Christie is so accomplished. We will be throwing up some pictures of things Christie made. Christie, in fact, made my wedding dress. Like, Christie is a fabulous, fabulous seamstress. But now that we've kind of gone over your personal cosplay history, what about cosplay history in general?
Cosplay history in general is long. I think longer than some people maybe realize. Some people might realize it's quite long. I mean, I think it dates back. I mean, the first that I can really think of seeing images were like Star Trek conventions, right?
Yep.
Trekkies. And then obviously in Japan, I don't know how far back it goes within Japan, but I think there's...
I mean, I personally, me and my husband are big fans of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which started to be serialized in the 80s. And there are cosplays from the 80s and 90s of JoJo's cosplayers in Japan.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, way, way back in the day. It's crazy to see how much it's progressed, just even like in the time I've been cosplaying.
Yeah, I mean, even in my life as like a teenager, when I was like 14 and first had an interest in cosplaying, it wasn't like you could just like Google a costume of these random niche characters and then like hit order and have it arrive at your door. Like a lot of these niche costumes were handmade and were fully custom. And
yeah, good luck finding a 360 of some of them even was crazy. Yeah, my really good, amazing friend Allie.
Yes, we love Allie.
Allie's amazing. But she cosplayed even before me. And she was doing Death Note. She did Vampire Knight.
Oh, that makes sense.
It does. And yeah.
But yeah, I mean, back then, there wasn't even really like home computers weren't popularized.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure way, way back, right? And even ones that I remember researching, it was like you would watch whatever media it was from and then have to hit pause, hope that you maybe got a back view of something or a side view of something. And nowadays, if a company is really cool, sometimes they'll put out 3D models that you can find. I think a lot of gaming companies do that sometimes.
Yeah, you get a full 3D model, art books. And there's just a lot of references now. And I think that that's amazing. And would you say TikTok has been a big proponent of this like massive boom in cosplay culture? Because I feel like even being a con goer several years ago, there were cosplayers, but they were more the exception and not the rule at like a convention. We are Utah based, so FanX or Salt Lake City Comic Con, may it rest in peace.
I have trophies that still have that on there.
But back then, like there wasn't a ton of cosplayers, and now I feel like nearly everybody is in some sort of cosplay.
Yes, I definitely think TikTok's a contributor of it. And it's made it, there's a lot of different, I don't know if ways to cosplay is the right way to put it, but I think intentions of cosplay, right? I think there's the competition side of it for sure. There's the just people want to play, right? There are people who just want to embody characters that they love, and it's not to compete. It's not really for anybody but them. And then there's the TikTok side of it, which is still booming. And I mean, I guess, I don't know, would you say that started within 2020? The whole timeline of TikTok cosplay has been very interesting to try and like dissect.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to put a pin in. And I definitely think, I mean, man, I kind of agree with you that in 2020, I think people were home.
That's a very good point.
And they had time because,
Yes.
oh my gosh, if you've ever made your own cosplay.
That is something I find very fascinating about TikTok and almost a little intimidating on the making cosplays for TikTok side of things, right? Things are a lot more available, so people can commission or buy things.
Yeah.
But as far as building things from scratch, I don't know how some people just pump it out.
Pop it out, yeah.
It's hats off to them because it's so much work, and the pressure, I think, to constantly create content, you have to be so creative, I think,
I know, because
to do that.
even if we're talking about like ready to wear cosplays, they're not really ready to wear. And I believe you and I have both done handmade, fully from scratch costumes, and also like straight out the Spirit Halloween bag costumes. And they're both challenging. I mean, you gotta steam it, you gotta alter it. I've never received a wig straight out of the bag that looked good.
No.
If that exists, that's like a unicorn.
Wigs are a whole other thing also that have evolved, but with cosplay.
No.
Like, have you seen the helmet wigs?
Yes.
That blows my mind. It's fascinating to watch because as far as theater and wigs go, it's very different from that. And I think it's partially because it's very anime inspired, very sculpted.
Yes.
And yeah, it's something I've been watching and trying to study how they do it because
I know.
so impressed with this new wave of
cosplayers,
cosplay wigs, yeah. And so many tools that didn't exist back in the day, right? Like 3D printing is one. There's foam clay is a new one. There's, EVA is a lot more accessible now. Warbler was an absolute pain to try and get a hold of back in the day.
Now you can get that at Michael's.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Leaps
That's
and
crazy.
bounds.
So I think kind of in tandem with TikTok making it more popular, there's also just the availability of things is a lot more than it used to be.
Yeah. Well, here's a question for you. How would you say that cosplay now compares to cosplay then, like 10 plus years ago?
I mean, I would hope that the spirit and the heart of it is the same, right? I mean, we're all nerds in some capacity who I think enjoy replicating and becoming characters that we idolize. I think there's more business opportunities, I suppose, for cosplay that I haven't super experienced in the cosplay world, but I know exists, right? For content creators specific to cosplay. And that's fascinating.
I know. And it's also amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that gaming industry and even movies, right, will sometimes reach out to cosplayers to dress up as this character to help promote and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so really cool.
Our friend of the show, performer on our main role model series, Harley, she does that professionally.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, she gets to travel a lot, go to cool movie premieres. I think she went to the new Alien, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Which that is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I love that those opportunities have opened up for people, that that's even an option, right?
And I love that there are so many amazing female cosplayers who have been able to like grow a brand and be a professional in the realm of cosplay. Because to transition to the next thing I wanted to talk about, cosplay seems to breed gatekeepers.
I think it can, for sure. I think it's been there for a while, even before TikTok.
Yes. But it's interesting that, like, looking back on it, some of my first memories of getting into cosplay as a wee tween was this kind of nasty belief that, like, women just cosplayed as a way to, like, dress in a provocative outfit and go in public and get attention, which... Boo.
For people judging.
For people judging.
For people judging, yeah. I remember, I don't know how long ago it was, but there was this girl who cosplayed, I want to say it was the Joker's daughter. And if you didn't know that, you might think it was kind of a twist on the Joker, a little steampunk or whatever, which is totally awesome and valid in its own way. But I mean, I think she was being a specific character. And there were all these people trashing her online, being like, you don't even like Batman. You don't even, you're not a real fan. You're just doing this for attention, to look sexy, whatever they said, right? And then people coming back and being, here's the thing. Even if she was just doing a character and a spin on it, totally valid.
Yeah.
But also people being like, how hypocritical. You're saying you're the real fan, but you don't even know that this is an actual character.
I know.
So, yeah, I think they've always been there. I think the internet just sometimes amplifies certain voices.
I know.
Which is unfortunate, but
I know. And now I feel like there's a few different camps of cosplay gatekeep. And would you like to address each of these with me?
Okay.
First of all, there's, like you mentioned, the one that I'm the most intimately familiar with, obviously, is people assuming that women who cosplay don't like the source material.
Yes.
And are doing it for male validation or something. Which, just to be clear, my dream cosplay is Dimitri from Fire Emblem, specifically in Act 2. I'll have Spencer throw up a picture.
I was going to say, I love that for you, and I need that to happen.
He is a huge man in
need that
a
to
wolf
happen.
skin and a suit of armor with an eye patch. So if that's for male attention, I don't know. Okay, I don't know what is. But let's be gatebusters.
Let's be gatebusters.
The gatebusters. So first of all, I want to say something kind of controversial.
Okay.
If a girl is dressing up in a costume of a character just to look sexy, who gives a shit?
I also agree.
She probably looks cute.
Yeah. She probably wanted to feel cute. She feels cute in the costume. Like,
yeah.
What does it affect you personally?
She's like, girls aren't out here claiming to be like the creator or like the chief of a specific like fandom or piece of media or something just by wearing a costume from it. But I feel like for some reason that's kind of this weird antagonistic thing that happens.
It does, and I'm not entirely sure what the reason is. I don't know if people feel threatened about it. I mean, I know I've heard some people talk about that they were maybe bullied for certain things that they liked when they were younger, and they feel like now that they're becoming more popular or
acceptable,
that there's a certain thing of like, well, you weren't in the trenches when I was in the trenches, right? So that may be part of it. There may just be a thing
feeling protective of the things that you were maybe picked on for.
That might be part of it.
But regardless, it's
but
a costume.
Yeah, just why feel the need to police others?
I know. And
if it's not hurting them or anybody else, like, why?
Who cares? And on that same note, there's another conversation that's had about cosplayers who are maybe of like a different demographic than the original character. I see this a lot for Black cosplayers, for plus size cosplayers, for disabled cosplayers. What do you think of that?
I think it defeats what really is the heart of cosplay, right? Is not, I think it should be, and I would hope it would be, about acceptance and enjoy and indulging and showing love for the thing that you love. I mean, you don't have to fit a certain way to be that. I mean, definitely don't do blackface or race change, but be yourself in being the character.
Yeah, and you can embody the character without being like the identical clone of a character.
I've seen a lot of girls online, specifically with Arcane second season coming out, right? And I'm sure when the first season came out, of Jinx, right? And cosplaying, and these girls who were getting just these awful comments of people being like, you're not skinny enough to be Jinx, you're not, whatever. And that's obviously horrible.
I know. And I also feel like there's such a fun way to like breathe your own life into a character. For me, I'm a big Sailor Moon fan, and there's this girl, I will find her tag, but she did the Sailor Scouts. And she is a beautiful black cosplayer.
I know exactly who you're talking about. She's stunning.
She is so beautiful.
I love her.
Or when
Sailor
I see
Scouts.
people do like the Sailor Scouts, but with like braids or other like protective styles, I'm like, that eats.
I've seen it with hijabs, like, and cosplay, which
I've seen
was fascinating.
Hijabi Hatsune Miku.
Yeah.
That ate.
So creative.
I
So
know.
creative, right?
And
Yeah.
I love that because it's so true that it is just the embodiment of what cosplay is about. Like loving something and wanting to embody it, but also like being yourself. Right?
And I think it's a great visual way to bring people together, right? There's something so fun both ways at being at a con and either cosplaying. I mean, I've cosplayed a character that literally nobody knew who I was, but that's okay because that wasn't the point. I was a little turret from Portal. And it was a lot of fun, but it was so cool when somebody would come by and be like, oh, are you this thing, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of creates this instant bond a little bit of, hey, we both love this thing.
Yeah.
But also, not super obscure characters as well, anything that brings people together. And it's a very fast visual shortcut, I think, for being like, oh, you love Sailor Moon too.
Yes, and it's so great. And I mean, to talk about some good things, now that we've talked a little bit about cosplay gatekeeping,
Yes.
to talk about cosplay love, because cosplay love is so real.
Yeah.
What has been like your most heartwarming moment as a cosplayer? I'll go first while you think.
Okay.
I was Sailor Moon, of course, and I was at a con, and there was a little girl up on her mom's shoulders, and she was dressed as Spider-Gwen. And she was like, Mom, put me down. And she got down, she was like, Sailor Moon. And she gave me a big hug. And oh my gosh, I almost sobbed my freaking eyes out. I was like,
I was gonna say, I bet our experiences are very similar because it's oftentimes it's the kids,
I
right?
know.
The cute little kids who are just like, I think about this all the time. When I was a little kid, I mean, I don't know if there were even conventions in Utah at that time.
know.
But I'm just imagining being a little kid and going to a convention and seeing all these characters brought to life that I adored. And that would have been amazing. I dressed up as Ursula once, and that was fun, and got little kids coming up. Sally sometimes, and for me that's a really special one because I was definitely kind of a weird little kid. I mean, I tried to dress up as Jack Skellington when I was 5 years old all the time and run around the house. And so yeah, it's kind of like looking at your own little childhood self. I don't know, it's a very endearing and sweet interaction and moment, right? I'm sure you felt that with Sailor Moon, right?
I know. Like, if I had been a little, she had to have been like 7, like a 7-year-old, and seen real life Sailor Moon, I might have died.
Right.
I might have gone into cardiac arrest and dropped dead in excitement and thrill because it's magical.
It's magical, and it's so unique in a way to be able to physically go up and speak to your person. And it's a little different than going to Disneyland, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Where the princesses are, because there's a lot of unique characters.
Yes.
And I don't know of any park, I mean, maybe in Japan, but that you could see anime characters come to life and things like that. So yeah, definitely, those are definitely the heartwarming experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree that it's special for kids and adults to see these characters that you love brought to life.
I still freak out as an adult when I see people cosplay something. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. You.
And the artistry.
The artistry, the creativity, the people who come up with that don't have like a huge budget, right? And make do with the most amazing things, thrifting, recycling, props out of cardboard that they paint to look amazing.
Yeah, huge props to the crafty cosplayers at home, because that is a challenge, and it's amazing to see something cool come out. But now that we've talked about your favorite, what has been your worst cosplay experience? Because we all have one.
We do all have one. Ironically, it was the first time I competed.
Busy day for Christie Karr.
It was a busy day. There was a man who was older, and I think he said he was from North Carolina, and he became, I don't know, really invested in how I would do in the contest and as me as a person. It was kind of freaky. He said, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was like, oh, if you don't win, then I'm gonna like make a scene. And then after winning, he cried profusely. I want to say, I think he was maybe, I don't know, 60 plus. And then continued to tell me, he was like, oh, you're so pretty. You should come back to North Carolina with me. You won't believe this, but your teeth look exactly like my dead wife's. You have my dead wife's teeth. Yeah, so, and it's the only time I got extremely close to calling security and being like, hey, because there was another event the next day that I was gonna be dressing up for. And he kept saying, he was like, I'm going to come back at Big Shop. Hey, you need to come with me. And my parents were very sweet and came and supported me. And he started hitting on my mom. And it was a whole experience. Thankfully, he did not come back the next day, or else I think I would have gotten security.
And he did not take your teeth.
He did not take my teeth, but now I know my teeth look
like some random man's dead wife's teeth.
Yeah. So that was quite an experience.
I so believe that.
Yeah, it was. There's the good and the bad of the con and the ugly.
Yes.
Be safe. Be safe out there, cosplayers.
Safe. Travel in packs.
Stand up for people when, if you see something, say something. There has been a whole conversation about cosplay and consent, which is very important.
Yes.
And I think, sometimes people maybe just get caught up in the atmosphere, the excitement of stuff, and they just don't think things all the way through. And cosplayers are humans too.
Yep. Be kind. Be kind.
Always ask before taking a photo.
Yeah, don't touch people.
Don't touch people.
I mean, it's so fun, but yeah, make sure you always ask if you can take a photo, if you can get a hug.
Yeah, there's quite the experience I know a lot of cosplayers have probably had, where you're exhausted, your feet probably hurt, you haven't eaten anything, so you sit down to take a break, and then maybe people come up and start taking photos of you, and you're like, this is not the greatest time.
Yeah, not now.
Not now, while I'm like shoving a sandwich in my face.
I know. Ugh, people are so weird.
Yeah.
They're so weird, but they're so good.
They can be.
They're so good. My weirdest experience, I was out cosplaying with my brother, and we were Tanjiro and Nezuko from Demon Slayer. Fabulous brother-sister cosplay. Also,
I love that the family that cosplays together.
I know, it's so fun. But I tell you what, we noticed, because we go together a lot, we noticed like brother-sister cosplays done by couples. Like we saw the brother and sister, like the main characters from Genshin Impact, and they were walking around like very clearly a couple, and I was like, aren't there like 90 other characters in this game?
You don't have to continue to give anime a bad rap of the whole.
I know, the whole
weird brother sister stuff that
I
goes on
know,
sometimes.
leave it. But we were doing Demon Slayer, and it was very cute and very fun. And this kid, he had to have been like, he was a minor for sure. For sure.
Okay.
Which makes this even weirder.
Oh no.
But he came up to us with his full chest and he was like, I love your guys' costumes. And I was like, that's so nice. That's so good. I was like, why are you here alone? Like, where's your family? Where's your friends? You're like 16. Like, homeboy.
Baby.
He was like, I'm here with my sister and her friends, but they're, blowing me off. So could I just hang out with you guys? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Sorry,
You were getting
buddy.
a vibe.
And then he goes, well, I'm pansexual and a switch. And I went, no. No, sweet baby. That wasn't the thing I was worried about. In fact, I was thinking quite the opposite, honestly. So, peace and love.
This is information you did not need.
Yeah. Did you never learn stranger danger?
Yeah.
So, kid, if you're
be
out
safe
there,
out there.
don't be saying that to people. Okay? Don't be going home with random people from the con. You don't know who they are. Be safe.
Be safe.
But
Be
I
safe.
have, since we're coming up on time, I have some questions
Okay.
from the class.
From the class.
From the kids at home. So follow us on our socials for questions before we film.
From the social media class.
Yes. And so I have a question actually from our friends and fellow TTRPG podcasters.
Oh.
Friends and Foe Adventuring Co.
Oh.
They asked, when judging, what's a common thing that you ding a cosplayer on? And what are little things you'd give bonus points for?
I think this somewhat goes hand in hand is details are a really big one. Pressing your seams, making sure that you finish your edges is a really big one. They talk about you'll flip the hem is a term often used, right? To make sure that the seams aren't raveling on the inside, Sometimes things are so close because there's so many talented people that it really does come down to the little details.
Yes.
And
I don't let Christy look too close at my costumes.
but not everything has to be perfect, right? I think that's part of the spectrum of cosplay, that sometimes it's just for fun and it really doesn't need to be perfect. But if you're competing in a contest where craftsmanship is something that's going to be judged, make sure it comes down to all those little things, making sure things fit right, making sure pressing seams really is a big one.
You hate unpressed seams.
It makes a difference, and I don't think people always realize that. Makes something look a little nicer.
And this is a personal gripe for the cosplayer mask presenting folks at home. Put on some makeup.
It's true. Makeup makes a difference.
Like if you're gonna be on a stage under lights.
Yeah, if you're masculine presenting, it don't mean nothing. Put on some makeup. It helps enhance the character often, right?
Yeah.
So doing all the little things, paying attention to the little things. Same with, if you're doing armor, if you're working with foam, making sure there's not hot glue strands that are maybe kind of hanging off. Just double check everything, making things look clean. Things look clean.
And what are things you'd give bonus points on?
I loved looking at well-documented progress of a cosplay. Like, it's oftentimes, usually they'll tell you in the contest rules to bring a little binder or something to document things. So if you're planning on competing, definitely show all the little...
Show your work.
Show your work. Show your work. I love a beautifully organized binder. I also really like things that are creative uses of material that maybe I wouldn't think of, or you're looking at it and you would never guess that's what it was originally. Like, I remember actually when I was being judged, I was competing on something, and it was Sally. And I made a little zero dog puppet thing, right? And for the nose, I had gotten these shoes, and the shoe inserts that keep them shaped correctly, I was like, oh, that looks very similar to kind of the snout of him. And so I used that as a base to kind of build the head on and all this stuff in, and was also told, they were like, oh, we would have never guessed that. That's really cool. And so I also find that neat when I would see that in cosplays. Unique use of materials.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions from some other beloved friends.
Okay.
What is the thing you have made that you are the most proud of?
I was the most proud of. It's gonna be silly because it's gonna be Sally again, but that
It means a lot to you.
it does. It's very much like my comfort subject movie. I don't know. I have a lot of collectible items from that movie, but I love doing a twist on a cosplay. I think there's some people who really love aiming for accuracy.
Yeah.
And I'm so impressed with people who can nail accuracy because I'm very much kind of jazz and stuff in that I like to improv. I like to kind of put a twist on things. So I did that with Sally, and it was so many patchwork pieces to make the ball gown. I lined every individual piece. I serged all the edges on that and then puzzled it together. I did all the individual stitches around with yarn, and that I don't even know how long it took me. I remember going crazy watching TV, and I was so sick of it. I was so ready to be done.
Are you even cosplaying if you're not sick and tired of your costume at one point?
Yeah, if you're pulling, I've definitely done my share of all-nighters.
The con crunch.
Yeah, the con crunch. It's 4 a.m. I think I'm just sewing by muscle memory at that point while my eyes just glaze over.
So that's your favorite. And now the last question I have for you. If you had infinite money and time, what would you make?
That's such a big question.
I know. I am putting you so on the spot.
I'll tell you the first one that comes to mind.
Okay.
Maybe it's just because I think it's such an impressive costume. Is from Hellboy. We're probably going to have a reference photo for this.
Okay.
The Angel of Death from Hellboy, which has multitude of wings, and like I think the wings have eyes on them. It's just a very intense, elaborate costume, which is really cool. I think would be a huge challenge and cost a lot of money.
But would be very cool.
Would be very cool. Probably the other one would be to do any sort of beautiful gown, like again, Del Toro, Crimson Peak has a lot of beautiful costumes in it. So to have that type of money for that type of fabric, to have actual like silk velvet and things like that, that would be very cool.
I love that. And I'm so glad that we could have this conversation. My mom is banging against the walls upstairs. Which
I know, it's getting late.
Time for us to go to bed. But we will talk again soon, I'm sure. And thank you for coming to my slumber party. And I hope you all have a very good night or day, whenever you watch this. Bye.